Alright, welcome back to the second lore dump. We're kind of in the middle of 2015, because apparently I actually had space. We're gonna see if I have the same luxury this time around, because these are some chunky eras we're about to get into. Hopefully now our icons should light up. We just had a setting thing we turned off. Here, they're all lighting up properly. Had a setting issue in OBS. We forgot to turn us on, so the hotkeys would be activated outside of the window. So now, should be good to go. I apologize for a lot more belching I'm about to do because we had lunch. And we have GERD, so it's just going to be an issue. But anyway, where we left off, quick recap. I'm just going to Naum through. Basically, here's me and Zerako in a modern AU. It's very cute. Muroko's going through it. He's possessed. Dragon, that's so swag. I'm a dude now. Angsty edgy as fuck all, my god. Zerako is traumatized. Ultika is kind of here. Thunder is vibing. And here's cool art. And that's effectively where we left off. And another thing to note too, I forgot to mention on my slide when it comes to the altar stuff, which is always interesting how it parallels with the story and obviously our roleplays, because that's where we are talking genuinely. One of the interesting things is I remember author telling one of their friends, like, wow, yeah, Bonehill is hard for me to roleplay because I'm not as smart as him, so I can't play this intellectual character as well. That's not what that was. That was me feeling effectively like I was not more smart than author was. I think differently, but I'm not more smart. What that was is just because again, we're going over how I'm becoming much more serious, taking my job as a caretaker and protector much more seriously. We're all going through a traumatic time, so I'm like really in the mode, and I did not want to be perceived as any less than that, so I wanted to seem like I was this super in control, smart-ass, intellectual fuck-all, to, in a sense, almost keep up that illusion, because I'm not. I'm clearly struggling and not having a good time, but I did not like to, at the time, like, now I make fun of myself constantly. I love jokes at my expense. I think they're mostly funny. Back then, I really hated it. It made me very uncomfortable, and that's because I wanted to be seen as the cool guy who's got his shit together, because I'm trying to keep shit together, and failing, but I'm trying. And that was like a recent thing we realized. And I was like, that checks out, because I'm like, I'm not more smart than you, for sure. And I was talking. I was definitely not silent. It's not like author couldn't hear me to write me down. It's just I was very afraid how I was ever going to come off to other people. So, yay, jump. This is basically the year where I'm very that stereotypical cool anime guy. Sort of archetype. This explains why. I'm insecure. Anyway, so here, going back to the topic of spirit guardians with that lore, welcome back, Fireblocks. So Thornleaf, for those that remember from the story back in 2014, he basically becomes his character Ko. There's not really much to talk about that transition, other than I guess Ko is less hostile and emotional. I guess Ko's more of a cool, laid-back guy. But anyway, what's interesting about Ko in particular is we have this whole spirit guardian shit, right? Where to be a multi-elementer, you have to harbor multiple spirits of different elements to have any control over an element that is not your own. And Ko gets me and Zerako as spirits. How does that happen? We're not even the same story. I don't know either. But apparently our idea was I do die at some point in the story. Why? I don't know. I just remember not giving a shit. Like, genuinely, I was just in the afterlife like, oh, shit, alright, whatever. So I'll just take a stroll then. Did not care. And somehow Zerako in his story, he was dying, so his spirit had to be transported back in time, because that would save him. I don't know how or why, because as far as I'm aware, his physical form was dying, nothing to do with his spirit, but it was shit, he's here now. He's in the afterlife when I am. And literally how we described it was the afterlife antivirus system was after his ass because he was in the wrong time. For those familiar with Doctor Who, with Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor, it's effectively like that one episode with Rose's dad, where Rose is interfering with time to save her dad back before she was born, and that fucks up time, so the time creatures are eating everybody because the time thing's all fucked up and they're trying to fix it. It's like that, but dumber. Because what the fuck is an afterlife antivirus system? Yeah, it's basically like that, just I'm surprised we did not describe it better or more similar to that episode. That's basically what was going on, and depending on what iteration of the plot points you're reading, either I try to save Zerako because I'm just trying to be a nice person, and I don't know this guy, so I don't hate him yet, and then in some other ones, apparently I am compelled to because I came in contact with Zerako's spirit, so for some reason I had no free will and I had to save him. I don't know. I like to think it's the former. But anyway, I try to save his ass. Muroko's spirit, Veldari's there for some reason, and I think he gets us out of the spirit realm and helps us merge with Ko, so we become his spirit guardians. Now he has fire and ice, and basically me and Zerako become, like, what we are to Author, which is their caretaker alters who just live in their head, helping them get through life. Which is, again, interesting how the story is reflecting that without us consciously thinking of it. So obviously this is a picture of Ko. These are supposedly what our spirit forms may or may not have looked like, especially this one with Zerako, and his DP tails work like really well with this kind of design. And this is a very, very unfinished drawing of what is technically me hugging, like, after me and Zerako get out of being fucking chased by fucking a vast antivirus system. We just kind of collapse in Ko's mind and just kind of, I guess, spiritually pass out. And that's what this is, where we kind of cuddle. Like, you can barely see it, but I swear to God, this is Zerako. This is a very unfinished Zerako, because this is way before Author got comfortable drawing cuddles or, like, those sorts of interactions, because they're hard to draw. But I know damn well that was the idea. And so that was the vibe. And for those that don't follow us on Artfight or are in the Discord server, this is our redesign of Ko from this year that we all lovingly worked on. Obviously, Author draws it. Author is the artist. Me and Zerako don't draw because you can see what happens when we attempt to. This is our fun reimagining, because Ko is definitely wasn't a character for very long, but was a very central part to, like, me and Zerako sort of development and reflection on us working more together as caretaker alters. And so this is just very fun reimagining of our Fire Ice Boy. Obviously, in the current canon, I say obviously because if you would know this, in the current canon, to have multiple elements, that's usually going to fuck up your elemental biology, because your element is every single cell in your body is made to work with your element. If you have two completely conflicting ones, you're fucked. If you have two ones that work together, you're like fire and ice, or not fire and ice, water and ice. That's very common. So Tassin and Fangon hybrid, you can work with that. Fire and ice, you are kind of fucked. So in this version, Ko is much more physically disabled. He's got this really badass wheelchair. It's just very fun. We love him a lot. And this is so Altercore. There's just so much Altercore stuff, but this especially is Author posting about going on a walk with my characters, and acid reflux. Bonehill and I try to shelter ourselves from the swarm of mosquitoes with our hoodies, while Zerako just sets a fire aura around himself and burns them off. And yeah, those are my valiant mosquito fighting skills. So this was pretty common. It was always a thing where Author would go outside and talk to me and Zerako, or let me and Zerako just kind of talk to each other through their voice. And this was just one of those instances where Author actually drew it, and it's very adorable and very true. We both fucking hate mosquitoes. It's just very cute. Let's see, this is another Altercore thing, where in the Mindscape we're all fucking bored, because most of the time the story is not being written. like the actual written portions are very far and few between, except for 2014 where we had 130 pages. It's definitely not what we have here. So usually we're just all talking to each other because we're bored. So in some cases, authors just in line to get books for school, and we're just all debating, is the guy in front of them taller or not? Why? It doesn't matter. I don't care. We're just bored. So this is Zerako, Muroko, and also just Thunder is here. Probably more so as author's extension of herself. And the invisible couch. We just always joke that our mindscape has just always had a couch, and that's it. It's been like a white void with a couch for many years until we finally tried to make it prettier. And next we have Steven Universe AU. So this is when we got into Steven Universe. And this is crucial because this is where me and Zerako, because again, we're not really in the same story. We technically Zerako gets like shoved into mine, but we don't have a lot written of that, and that's not really a main part of the story. It just doesn't come until later. So in the Steven Universe AU though, we're in the same, Steven Universe AU story. So we have more drawings of that and interactions there. Not that there's a lot to go over in that story, but just kind of more of a fun imagining with friends on what that would be. So I was an aquamarine before we knew what aquamarines looked like in the canon universe. Zerako was a pyrope. Also before we knew what those looked like. This is 2015. This is pretty early on. And also I was drawn a lot more in this AU because I was way easier to draw in the Steven Universe style. In general, that was just easier for author during this time. So shout out to Steven Universe for being there for us. So here's some of the interaction pieces. One where I'm telling Zerako setting the stove on fire will not make your food cook faster unless burnt ramen is your flavor of choice. And Zerako screaming, "Don't tell me what to do." And me just giving this dead face. Another one where I'm saving Zerako, where I yell at him to get behind me so I can protect him. I don't know what's going to be happening here necessarily, but that's the vibe. This was our fusion. And technically we have like reimagined what our fusion would be today, and it honestly looks just a lot like Ko. Like a lot what our current version of Ko looks like is effectively what our fusion looks like. By the time this was it, and we just would always fuse out of anger because we still didn't quite get along except if we're pissed off, and that's accurate for the era. Let's see. So next we have some convos, obviously, between me and Zerako from this time. This is much different from the wildness of 2014, where we were out just aggressively flipping between just literally married and then trying to kill each other. In this version, in this era, we're trying to kill each other, and I'll go into more reason alter-wise why that was kind of happening. But here, Zerako, let's see, I'm gonna make sure our hotkeys are for sure working, or I'm gonna cry. So let Zerako read with me here. Yeah, I wish I had wings. If you had wings, we'd be in a lot more trouble. Stop crushing my dreams, Bonehill! That's a pretty pathetic dream. It's like, you're a pathetic dream. Given I'm not a dream, I can't be offended. Yeah, well, whatever you are, you're a pathetic one. It's like, your arguments are getting you nowhere, you realize. It's like, well, maybe if I had wings, I would get somewhere. Just turns away from him, which is so funny because Zerako's always said he's bad at comebacks. In my opinion, this is the best comeback he's ever had because it's just a good one. I just love it. I thought he was stupid at the time, but I'm like, no, that was genius. That was genius, and you could not admit it. And then next, I'm fast walking somewhere, so I would fast walk instead of running because I would waste energy. Not even that. I was fast walking so I wouldn't waste energy walking. I'm not sure what an energy conversion I was trying to make in my head or how that necessarily makes sense. But that was the idea in my head, and it was a running joke for a while that I can't run because running shows too much emotion, and I stand by that. I think that was the reason why. Zerako sees him and follows. Wait, Bonehill, where are you going? Doesn't concern you. Cool, I'm coming with. Let's see, I think this was up here was a question, like, what if I didn't have my, like, ice powers anymore? So I said, it would feel rather pathetic, but if I had no choice, I would deal with it. It's like, would that mean you wouldn't have ice powers anymore? Depends. So maybe it's a question of, like, what if I turned into a human suddenly or something? Could I burn you alive then? If you can catch me. Zerako slams his fist in his open palm. It's on! and he would be able to burn me alive. I just want to put that out there. Even now, he could kill me very quickly in the current canon. That's not a question. And then another one where Zerako tries to kill the flu virus because one of our friends had the flu. And it's just very cute where it's a virus, you can't kill it. And it's like, I've done many impossible things, you just watch me. Then just get popcorn, I just probably just pop out a lawn chair, and I'm like, I will do just that. Probably definitely one of our nicer interactions comparatively. So let's see, next. And this was from, we were working together, I think, to get ramen, we got our ramen stolen by someone, so me and Zerako, for once in a roleplay setting, worked together with our powers, just kind of wordlessly. And so I turned to Zerako and I said, almost wish that went on longer. Testing our strengths together would be rather interesting to accomplish. Zerako says, I just wanted ramen. And I'm pretty sure, because we look back at this, because in 2015, I honestly, for the most part, even though, yeah, we both kind of hated each other, I was trying to be nice. I would, say hi and stuff. I'd be ready to be friends at, the drop of the hat for the most part. So we looked at this, and I was like, why didn't I agree? Oh, shoot, yeah, let's hang out more. Let's, figure out powers. But I just, brushed him off, and I'm like, I think I was just scared. Because he would not say this to me at any given point ever. This was, so out of pocket for him to just be like, oh, yeah, maybe we actually could work well together. I don't hate you right now. I was like, I just wanted the food. I don't know. I think I was just fucking flustered. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with that. I'm allergic to Bonehill being kind. I think that's really all it was. So that was funny, because that was one of the things we did not know that was a thing until we found that in convos. We just saw 2015 as just the era of only hatred. And so these sorts of gems we find are just, really interesting. Oh yeah, and these are fun, because this is... What's so funny about 2015 too is, well, yeah, in 2014 we were hopping between marriage and not because it was explicitly stated, just for some reason randomly we were just fine with each other and doing married couple activities. But in 2015, explicitly, there was these OC memes you would find on DeviantArt, where it's there'd be 6 number slots, you'd randomly put your characters in them, and the questions are here, number 6 has to pretend to be number 1's boyfriend because number 6's parents want them to go out with someone or whatever. That sort of thing. In those memes, even different ones where we changed up the numbers, they were always shipping our asses together, and it's so fucking funny that it just kept being a thing. And it was predicting shit. That was an omen. But we didn't understand why it kept doing that, but it was just very funny. This one in particular was, I have to pretend to be Zerako's boyfriend because Zerako's parents want him to go out with someone, pressuring him to get into a relationship, and I am not amused. Obviously in current day, Ultika would never, but we do not have the Ultika we have today in this era, let alone Zerako's dad being in the picture, so this was just for the meme's sake. Oh, excuse me. So let's see. Bonehill, please, I hate you, but will you pretend to be my boyfriend so my parents, they want me to be with someone and it's annoying and I gotta be with somebody? It's fine. Later. Ultika, so Zerako, you finally found a date. That's wonderful. Zerako starts to talk, and then I just scoop him up bridal style, because I had muscles, I was able to do that back then. Yes, and we're going to get married this very moment without your consent, because we've already planned our honeymoon, so nice meeting you, goodbye. Technically that was a more not safe for work implication, not that we did anything not safe for work, but just that was just me shitting shit out just to get us out of the situation, so still, we don't want to show that joke, so we just put it over with planned our honeymoon, which to us is funnier. To which Zerako goes, what the hell are you doing? It's now your parents will have second thoughts on you being with someone. And I was kind of on the right track, I like to think, with that. Don't force your fucking kid to be with someone unless you want them rushing into something bad. Jesus Christ. Either way, the meme keeps going. And soon enough, everyone apparently falls in love with me. I'm pretending still to be with Zerako, so oh no, what do I do? When do I find this out? And how do I fix the problem? do I kiss someone or ignore it? How does it go? Which is like, I don't know how that would help anyway. So let me make sure our hotkey's still right. Bonehill, I just found out everyone has a crush on you. Should we just pretend to break up then, or just act faithful to each other to shoo them away? It's like, didn't think I was gonna follow through with this. Makes a quick ring out of ice. Zerako, will you marry me? Good. Shoves a ring on his finger. Let's go. We got a wedding to plan. Ow. Which is funny that my solution was, I hate that everyone likes me, so I'm just gonna marry Zerako and just get it over with, because that's a better alternative when, again, I hate him, technically, in this era. But technically, we were about to get married, and no, there's nothing written down of us planning a wedding, and we're so sad because we want to know how disastrous that would be, which we can probably imagine it, because I loved sushi, he hated fish, he loves tacos, I don't think I hated tacos, I just hated them because he likes them. Like, anything associated with Zerako, didn't like. So we would just be screaming about what food to cater at the wedding, and nothing would ever get solved. When now we would just want a casual wedding, but we would want it to be chaotic, just like in a more friendly way. Oh, let's see. And then the meme keeps going. It's not done with us. So Zerako buys 2 tickets for the movies for Bonehill and him. How does Bonehill react? Does Bonehill accept? Why or why not? Bonehill, let's go to see How to Train Your Dragon 2. I got tickets. You've seen that movie 5 times already. Please, Karen, you might as well for forcing me to marry you. People across the street stare at them. But this is different. The wedding is a mutual thing we both don't want to do, and it's pretend. It's like, then pretend you want to go with the movies with me. You are such a pain in the ass. Which is funny because we're going to be watching How to Train Your Dragon for our anniversary party on Thursday, which is kind of intentional, but also it is Zerako's like favorite movie. But yeah, which is also funny. I was given such a stink about this because at least now, I would just, if I didn't want to see the movie, I would just fall asleep in the fucking movie theater like everybody else. Like, those are so comfy. Why didn't I just do that? I know why, because also technically, in 2015, with my hard ass trying to keep shit together, this was the one era where I'm not a sleepy bitch. Like, 2014, I'm kind of sleeping all the time. 2015 is the one time where I have a very rigid sleep schedule, like sleeping in or taking naps. Rarely a thing you'd see me do. And then once 2016 rolls around and me and Zerako start getting along more, I start like letting loose a little bit and sleeping more effectively. But in 2015, unimaginable. God forbid I sleep during a movie either. And this one I'm not going to yell in caps because our voice, and also I don't want to. But I was yelling in caps, Zerako, I'm not going to go to Taco Bell with you for the 6th night in a row. Zerako goes, but I want to eat there. I say, then starve. And he goes, maybe I'll eat you alive and put you in tacos, which is what our arguments usually kind of delved into. And these are just funny because it's like, wow, we just didn't know what compromise was. Like, you can eat different things. You let him go to Taco Bell, you can eat sushi, you can have different dinners. It is not that hard. Or eat fucking spaghetti. Like, there's foods you two could agree on easily. But God forbid you go against either of your guys' safe foods, to be fair. I think that was obviously part of it. Still funny, we just couldn't eat different things, but what can you do? This is the next version of the Zerako doll that Author makes. It's the chunky little potato guy with brushed out yarn hair. I think it was the first time we did it with straightening the hair. I think we did it on other dolls too, but this is Zerako's first iteration of it. It's very cute. He's a potat. We still have like all these dolls. All the dolls I show you, we definitely have. They are beautiful little mementos. And next, let me make sure I finished my tea here. 1 second. Oh, not quite. So next, for those who have caught up with Chapter 2, if not, no worries. This is not like huge spoilers. But our main antag, her name is Sylve. This is where he gets his first debut. And he's horrific. There is not a lot to say about Sylve that isn't gross and uncomfortable for, like, all of us. Just because also we're so into anime. Anime is very commonly known for really heroes and villains alike, but villains especially to be gross and pervy and Sylve is no exception. And I don't even think Sylve was like a hardcore antagonist or villain. I think he was just kind of an antagonist, maybe then turn protagonist, like anti-hero kind of thing. I'm not exactly sure. Plot is a mess during 2015, but either way, it doesn't make her any better than she was. So yeah, and she back then also had a crush on Muroko, and if we ever bring that back for the main comic, it'll be a squish instead, which for those that don't know, that's a platonic crush, where Sylve will just really want to be Muroko's friend so bad. And that will be adorable should we do something like that, but yeah. And also an interesting thing about DPs too that we haven't touched on quite yet is DPs used to come in just all the different elements, so there were water DPs and ice DPs, when now there are not. The current lore is Fangons are the only ones with ice, Tassin are the only ones with water, DPs get the rest of the elements. And there is like world history for the reason behind that we might find out in just like a side episode sometime, but back then, fuck that. Fuck organization. Everyone has everything. So, Sylve used to be a water DP, and now she is a Tassin and Fangon hybrid, which I brought up previously. When it comes to hybrids, water and ice are the most common, and so here she is, and she's very lovely. We definitely love the glow up, love the design. Sylve is anywhere near this grossness. Like the outside surface energy is the same, the morals are very different, and love that. So here's just some prominent digital art of the time. There's not a ton of digital art because author is trying to get their standing on how they want to shade, how they want to, still getting their bearings on what kind of art they want to make, what's fun for them to make, all that stuff. So this is a prominent piece called DP Rainbow. We've wanted to redraw this for a while. It's just hard because so many of these characters just aren't around anymore. Like we have Zerako here with the tiniest baby ears known to fucking mankind. We have Taiku. Another character is not here. Another one. This is Zerako. We got Sylve, got Muroko, got Veldari. So like the only ones that could make a return is like Zerako, Sylve, kind of, and Muroko. Obviously, you could put the rest of the main cast members in there, but it's like we don't all fit. We don't nicely make a rainbow anymore necessarily. So that'd be something we haven't like figured out how we want to do, but. So, I remember really being proud of this piece with the hair shading. This is Kid Zerako. This is a piece we have redrawn several times. I think we redrew it last year. I say we, it's author. Me and Zerako like to think we're participating, we're just watching. This is like a really cool hair shading technique that author tried at the time, and it worked really well. It was just hard to repeat. He's always had the orange gold fire, which is also interesting. It's always kind of stuck around. This is a piece author drew just this year, the very beginning, of all their main characters. In the case of like alters, me, Zerako, and Muroko were the actual alters. This is Ko, Taiku, and Thunder. Technically not alters, but the distinction between alters and characters was not felt quite yet to author, but still. Their stories were always a way for them to just exist. It was a way for me and Zerako and Muroko to process our shit, so it meant a lot to us. It was a way for author to also be more brave and confident. Like, it's always meant a lot to us, our stories. We just all express it in very different ways. There's also an author starts getting a little bit of blue in their hair as well. It's when it starts. So then we get to more specifics on how we were as alters during this time. So for author, this was the what we always knew as the big year of the trauma catalyst, which was mainly just stress from school constantly was just way too much and it really fucked us up, to put it lightly. So me and Zerako become much more prominent caretakers because we are trying to keep shit together. Zerako does not understand that he has RSD or the really strong feelings and reactions he gets to things due to his own autism and ADHD, so he has unhealthy coping mechanisms to try and help justify his reactions to things. But despite this, he still tries to comfort and encourage author because he understands their shared emotional volatile nature. Like, they're both very emotional, And so he, despite not having a control on his own feelings quite yet, he was still trying to help Arthur, and it is very sweet. I continue to act strict and orderly, keep things together, and the reason I stay away from Zerako and am so hostile to him is I kind of see Zerako as part of the problem, partly possibly after Zerako's failed attempt at protecting Arthur back in 2014, so I don't trust him as much, but also Zerako being so emotionally volatile and I'm trying to keep shit together, I just don't see him as helpful. Which sucks, I hate that. Especially learning the potential I may also hate him because of the 2014 incident. Because I don't remember holding that against him, but I would not be surprised, because let's be real, I don't think I necessarily made that connection back then, because I'm not paying attention to my feelings, they're not real. Sort of vibe, but we were just all going through it in 2015. Meanwhile, Muroko's likely absorbing trauma like a sad sponge in the back. Yeah, so Muroko's altered timeline is much more sparse, so you're not gonna hear a lot about it, mainly because we just know he's a trauma holder, and there's really just one point where we notice that happening. Otherwise, it's mainly me and Zerako, because we're always very active. Muroko's much more of a lurker. But that's where we are at this time. Now we have the draft 2. This one was like I don't know, maybe 2 pages, 2 to 3 pages compared to 130 from the last draft. Very short, but lots of Muroko, Thunder, Bonehill gems. Zerako's still not in it. I'm very sad. Oh boy. Alright. I'll let Arthur take the wheel with this. Especially because it's from Thunder's perspective. I don't think I've ever seen a Shadow Dragon person run so hard for his life before. Better yet, I was the one chasing him. And so were the authorities. Usually I absolutely cannot stand running. It gives me quite a lot of pain and makes it hard to breathe, but get me motivated and I'll be sprinting until I cough up blood. That's never really happened, but you know, anything's possible. There were just about 4 royal authorities actually chasing him. They probably saw him without his hood, therefore exposing his large, vibrant blue-violet hair. That's a huge giveaway of his dragon type, and since they've been tracking him ever since he was 5, I'm sure they were just ecstatic to find him again now that he's 16. That's also why I'm very ticked at him and am ready to beat him to death with a stick or something for letting his cover blow so easily when there wasn't an issue with it before now. Muroko, get back here, you double-tailed butthole, or so help me, I will murder you with my fist or something! I yelled in outrage. How could you be such a moron at a time like this? The authorities ahead of me were glancing behind them rather nervously. I suppose the sight of a limping, huffing, and very angry-looking Sakura was a bit concerning. I was too busy running off in my own anger to really notice all that much. Muroko made a sudden halt and whipped around and let me run straight into him. The impact was a little more than he expected, but he caught his footing well enough and wrapped his strong arms around me. Then darkness engulfed my vision, and I felt myself being squeezed rather uncomfortably for a second. Then, when I was able to open my eyes, we were high up in the branches of a tree. I was still in Muroko's arms, and I hoped it would stay that way, because I really didn't want to fall from this tree. That'd rather suck. I'll never understand you shadow DPs, I muttered. Muroko put a finger to his lips along with the glare, indicating I should shut up. Like they'll really find us in a tree, Muroko. Really, I'm not even talking that loud. He clasped his hands over my mouth securely and rolled his eyes. I rolled mine back at him. He says, as long as they don't have a forest DP, we should be fine. What other DP types have green hair? Just forest, why do you ask? Then we're doomed. I looked over at Muroko. I told you so. You know what? Shut up. Thank you. They escape. I think, yeah. So they escape. We skip ahead a bit to where they're running. Their caretaker, because Muroko and Thunder are adopted siblings, kind of, at this point, I think, in the story, or at least friends. So their caretaker, Rufus, mentioned, hey, find this guy, Bonehill, at, like, the fucking prison or whatever. So they're in the prison alleyways, and Bonehill fucking just, like, Kool-Aid Man's through the wall, literally, with his giant, like, black ice gloves, just, like, punches through an entire stone building. A very Bonehill thing to do. And so this is Thunder seeing him. How the heck do hands get that big? That was my first thought when I saw the looming figure of a male with giant black claw-like hands that were almost 3 times as big as his head. He bore no shirt, exposing his pale upper half. He had messy, jet black hair that glinted in the sun like dark ice. His ears were a lot like mine, just white and they curved up at the tips. His tail was a thin furry cord with fluff at the end that twitched and moved around like it wanted to inspect its area beyond its limits. He looked just like a Fangon, like Rufus, but his black hair threw me off. Fangons have white hair, usually. So that's quite the birth defects for them to have black or something different. He luckily had some black pants on that were rather jagged on the ends and was barefoot from there. I was still focused on his hands, though. Muroko made a threatening growl. As long as you don't cause any trouble, I won't have to hurt you. The man turned to him with a slightly cocked head and a very calm but curious expression. I'd have to say it seems you two have already gotten yourselves into enough trouble as it is. For me to inflict more on you would probably be rather unpleasant, I'm sure. Glad we're on the same page, Muroko snorted, still leaning over me protectively. Muroko was still glaring untrustingly at the stranger, but of course he always does that. I personally thought he looked kind of interesting, but very intimidating. Doesn't help he was really tall, too. He then glanced over to me and my heart leaped. Her deficiency in running will slow us down. I suggest carrying her until we make it to safer ground, he said in a settled tone. I wasn't going to complain with the carrying part, especially if we were going to be running a lot. I wanted to be carried. Wait, why are we going to be running? I can do it, Muroko snarled. She's not riding on the back of a stranger. I beg to differ. You used up enough of your energy already. Rufus, I'm sure, warned you of that. Muroko shot a glare at him, but his eyes looked rather defeated. He couldn't deny that truth. All right, whatever, but you hurt her, and I swear. Yes, I'm sure you will. The man cut him off curtly, already expecting a gruesome threat to follow. He crouched down and turned his head a bit towards me, the best he could. I'd hurry if I were you. I hesitated a bit. Then it hit me. Maybe this was the guy Rufus wanted us to meet here. But why him? I had a lot of questions for this weirdo, but I decided to just go with it for now. I slowly crawled into his back as I would with Muroko, just this was incredibly more awkward because his back was bare and he was really strong. His giant hands held my legs to his sides, and I felt the sudden chill start creeping into my skin. Black ice, that's what they're made of. I'd never seen Rufus use that kind of ice, though. Something about this guy was just strange. He's not like any Fangon I've ever met. I wrapped my arms around his neck and took a deep breath. If you need to address me, the man said, apparently just to me, even if he was talking to Muroko, he seemed like he couldn't care less, you can call me Bonehill. Now, let's get going before we get ourselves killed where we stand. 3 criminals about to run loose in the streets. How horrible that sounds out of context. Which is very funny, because that's just what's happening in the current comic. So maybe not less 3, it's just 2. But yes, I think that is it for that draft. So very short. This was like, maybe 1 chapter or so. It's kind of sad there isn't more, because honestly I do love the narration more in this version. Especially because this is the first time it's first person. It was third person before. And just sarcastic commentary from author/Thunder is just always a good time. But yeah, so here we go. Here's some more art from this era. So this is also more of author. This was author. I think this was a piece about author sort of describing how their characters and their stories give them more confidence, because they were very not confident this year because it was very traumatizing for reasons they were not fully aware of at the time. So here's me, here's Muroko, here's Zerako. This cool like fire effect, which is funny that they were like, yes, they give me more confidence, and it's like, yeah, it's because we kind of live here and we talk to you and we literally pep talk your ass. And I remember too, it was really funny because this was for a contest on DeviantArt, I want to say. And on DeviantArt, there's like, you can like write little journal like entries and stuff. And so author wrote one about making this piece, and in the making of it, they literally mentioned they talked to me to like get like advice about where to go next with the piece, because this piece went through very different iterations, which unfortunately I did not show here, but my god, there's so much fucking art on the slideshow, I didn't want to. But like literally they like wrote down that like, yeah, I talked to my character Bonehill and like got his opinion on this piece and shit. Again, there's so much alter stuff, you just can't ignore it. It's like at every turn at this point. Anyway, and this is just a really funny drawing that we did redraw just earlier this year with the new main cast. But we got it's the Monopoly Draw the Squad. That was a big meme back in the day. So we got Zerako. I'm in the box jail. It's being set on fire by my beautiful, wonderful husband. I love that. We got Sylve. We got Muroko dead and buried playing Monopoly. And then this is Ko. This is Danu, who we mentioned before. Fuck him, don't like him. And then this is my little brother Malco. Technically, Sylve, Malco, and Ko were like, I think, were they a trio? I thought they were. I'm not sure though, because I don't feel like Ko was as much. I don't know. Anyway, just a funny drawing. Oh, are we on the next era? Thank fuck. I say thank fuck. 2016 is also a ride, but this one we have the big Krampch. Like, literally, this is just what we've called this era for years. AKA, everyone's in the story now. Still called Thunder. So this is finally where me and Zerako are in the same story and no longer divided by, like, 300 years or whatever the hell. Oh my god, the reflux. So now DP lore is just wacky as fuck, because before, at least, it was like, okay, they're dragon protectors. They protect the dragons. Swag. Now it's... I don't know what the fuck it is. Apparently dragons are now spirits. They're godlike, but they're not godlike in the way they are in our current canon, in which they are just quite literally gods, and you're not necessarily going to see them. In this case, they are spirits. They have, like, a whole spirit realm much more involved. So, cool. Apparently they created the DPs to help them in an ancient war. That was written down. I don't know what war that was, but sure. So when a DP is born, their dragon spirit, like, comes in contact with them and chooses them and lives in them, ? And that defines their element type and gives them these spirit dragon attributes, which you can see here with this old ref of Muroko. The skinny white boy, it's so unnerving. And they can summon, their dragon's element and other powers and shit. And then... Cool, we have me. So this was the start of when I had beast powers. This is the start where the beast became even a thing. Obviously different in how it operates and presents itself. Because fun fact, Beast did not get a concrete design until we literally started drawing the comic in very early 2020. So my beast-like form in this era, like we've seen it in the comic in like chapter 1 where I'm like saving Zerako, right? I get irises, or the whites of my eyes go black. I got the cool glowing glyph blue markings and shit. So in this one, and this is kind of cool, my eyes would change into the color or colors of the strong emotions I'm feeling. So I think yellow was happy, red was angry, etc. Blue was probably like, or dark blue was probably depression, I'm not really sure. But that sort of thing, and it would be triggered not just by negative emotion, but also positive emotion, if it was really strong. So we have this very cursed, like, I'm apparently really happy here, and so my beast form just kind of pops out, and it's very cursed to see me smiling like this, but you have it. I think my tail, apparently, fluff also got much bigger, but yeah, otherwise my appearance doesn't, like, change a lot beyond, obviously, author's style evolving, getting a little less super duper anime boy. And I did, the beast form also gave me horns, but I did not have them permanently, and that makes me so sad. Please let me keep them. I want my horns. What's also interesting is we have what's called the Savani Council, but that's just, it's not, it's like, if I remember correctly, the Savani Council was effectively just like a board of government directors. Like, they kind of ran the whole city, and they were mostly Savani, I want to say, but not inherently all, especially because they hired my ass, and I'm not a Savani, I never was in any story lore. They just hired me because they needed someone with my skill and expertise, which is so funny, because even though, sure, I'm not a Chaos Edgelord as much as I am in current day, it doesn't mean I was a good choice. Doesn't mean I still would not absolutely go behind their backs and do shit, because I absolutely would have. But I don't know, they still hired me, because, yes. Whatever. This is also the year that we start figuring out our arrow aceness. I am the first to figure it out, because I was in roleplays in the previous year, in 2015, with friends, where I was, at least in one convo where I was shipped with a character, who was lovely, by the way. Like, that's not, like, uncomfortable part of my past or anything. Like, genuinely, she was swag. But I was very uncomfortable making out or, doing anything intimate. Not that much happened, but still just anything. I was just like, I don't like that. I'm uncomfortable, but this is what's supposed to happen and what I'm supposed to do, so it should be fine. And then, we learned more about aspec labels, and I'm like, that's what it is. So at this point, I identified as demi-romantic asexual. I now identify as, just aroace. The most of a micro label I would have is whatever the one is where you just have feelings for one person and one person only romantically. But even then, I'm kind of more so I like giving romantic affection more than I like receiving it. I will smother Zerako in smooches. I don't necessarily want to be smothered in smooches, at least not as much. But back then, all I knew was we did not know that in depth of micro labels, so I was like, I don't know, demi-romantic, shit, sure. It meanwhile takes Zerako and Author way longer. Zerako just realizes he identifies as bisexual. Author still thinks they're straight, which is so cute. Now we get Zerako glow up, no longer a skinny white boy. Man's got a tan, we'd love to see it. He has wavy hair for a month. In fact, I'll let Zerako talk on this front because he likes to. Well, yeah, because now I'm not an edgy cook. Edgy fuck is what I meant to say, but yeah, still, I wasn't as bad. Sorry. I ruin our throat when I come in. Not actually ruin the throat, I just talk so much louder. But anyway, yeah, I had wavy hair for literally probably a month. It was hardly any length of time, but it was mainly just because we were still in we gotta be really original. We can't have Zerako just look like a emo, a band boy sort of straight haired Tumblr boy style. That's too common. That's gotta be more unique. Let's give him wavy hair. But it was I don't like wavy hair. I like looking like an emo Tumblr boy. Bring me back. This is also where I get freckles. You can barely see them, but trust me, they are there. You can see them more in the bottom image, I think. They're very faint. And that's the thing, Bonehill's mentioned this before too, but anytime we would change our appearances, we would be very nervous about it. And to be fair, it does kind of make sense now that we're worried about how we're going to be perceived, so kind of no shit. So my ears start getting bigger too. Technically they were supposed to be people would make fun of me for how big they are, even though they are nowhere near as big as they are now. But that was a thing. Same with the freckles in the hair. But I still really like this drawing. This is a really good drawing from that time of me. But yeah, so now in the story, I'm half DP, half Sakura, which again, Sakura's were technically what Thunder was, which was those other Anthro-Cat people that weren't the Fangons, and then they were, I don't know, just whatever Thunder was in 2015, where they had the dragon tails and stuff, I don't know. But I was half DP, half Sakura, which was oh, that's bad. And so I also never got my dragon spirit. My dragon spirit didn't come to me when I was born, but I was Savani, which we don't know what that was at this point. It was Holy Dragon Fire. We didn't know the properties of it yet. And to be fair, we still don't know in the comics, so stay tuned. But still, so I still had fire powers. They were just my own. They weren't my dragons. And I thought my dragon never came to me because I was a hybrid, and that was so taboo. It wasn't actually. Fun fact, Dano, you remember them? That fuck stole my dragon. He didn't do it on purpose. It was accidental. His spirit dragon hated mine so much for no reason that mine was on its way to find me. His dragon just started fighting mine, and then they both just merged with Danu, so that's how Danu got fire and ice. It's shit. So I just didn't get a dragon because of him, so that sucks. To be fair, Bonehill's way more livid at Danu for existing than I am. I don't care as much for that. It's just funny to think about. So it was a whole thing, and that was a big, thinking something was wrong with me still. RSD, I think that's still sort of shown in how this iteration of the comic is. But yeah, I also wanted to get on the Savani Council. That was my dream. And I am a Savani, so you'd think they'd let me, but I was a hybrid, so it was taboo and they didn't let me, and I was very, very upset, rejected again. RSD, ouch. Yeah, and then yet they let Bonehill on. It's rigged. Woo. We got all kinds of phlegm. Oh yeah, here's some cute expressions and stuff that Author did I like a lot. Especially this one over here. It's very cute. It's always just very interesting to see, how Author is, learning expressions, because now obviously they're really good at it, because you see all the kinds of expressions me and Bonehill make throughout the comic, but it's like it was a struggle to figure them out before. And it's just so interesting. Like, this is such a round mouth shape. We don't ever make that anymore. It's just interesting. I just think it's neat. See what else we got. We do have technically the music. This is when we start like really composing stuff. Trick is with OBS virtual camera, you won't be able to hear it. So with how our voice is, we might voice crack. So I'm thinking we'll probably just release the versions separately that you guys can like listen to. I don't know, like SoundCloud or some shit. We'll figure it out. Because like you're going to hear some of these themes throughout the comic dub anyway. So it's not like you'll never hear them. You'll just hear the better versions. So we'll skip over those for now. But otherwise, let's go on. I am taking over now. This is my stream. This is my time to shine. Because Bono went through it in 2016. He did not like going through this year, so I will take the reins as long as he needs me. So Muroko is finally looking more like Muroko. Look at this shit. He looks more like himself. It's so cool. Like he's finally getting more chunky. I want to say he's still 6 foot. He might be more 5'7". Like he's starting to shrink. But he's definitely not anywhere near as short as he technically is now. He does not commit genocide. We'd love to see it. Go King. You're doing great. My man's doing fantastic. Vela's no longer possessing him, but Veldari is still like a character. We just don't know what the fuck he's doing. Like he's a villain. But I don't know what he wants. I don't know what he's doing. That's okay. We don't care. He now wields his blacksmith hammer instead of a sword. He's still like a weaponsmith mainly. He's still not a mechanic. That is not until way later, but now he has a hammer instead of a sword. And this is you can start to see the outfit starting to come together closer to what he has. Still more revealing than what he is okay with now, but we're getting there. You can see the progression. And I just love it. This is my son. He just looks so much more like himself, and it just feels so much better. Let's see. Next we got Thunder, going through the biggest identity crisis of her fucking life. I think she was still fire, water, elemental. I don't know. Obviously we weren't sure how that was possible, because like we have spirit dragons, but the whole spirit multi-elemental thing was not a thing anymore. So we didn't know how she was a hybrid of them. There was a thing that was like, we had beasts and then we had beings, and beings you would think like, oh, is that the opposite of beasts? And it's like, kinda. It was like beasts who had a soul. That is so much more simple than it actually fucking was. It was that simple. It was like Bono was trying to dig through the old lore docs to like figure out what the fuck we meant, and he could not figure it out. It just made him mad. He just could not understand what we were trying to come up with. So, but that was kind of the idea. Thunder was kind of a being, question mark, whatever that meant, special, which really at the end of the day was she was a person created from strong emotion but has a soul and is easily affected by emotional energy. Isn't that just my undiagnosed ADHD? Which is more likely what it was. But yeah, I like this version of Thunder. You can start to see too, and when we bring up Thunder starts becoming Tunyoi at this point, and we'll get to how that happens. It's not like Thunder and Tunyoi are like the same person. Like me and Bonehill and Muroko were like the same person, just go like transitioning over time. Thunder and Tunyoi are much different, but still connected. So this is when we start to see, oh hey, they're looking more like Tunyoi now, and that is why. Still kind of confused on, what appearance we wanted them to have. This is when we start getting floating islands, right? This is kind of cool. And Ultika is still not with us. She is still in the ether, taking her damn time. My mother. Though to be fair, she's more prevalent in the story. That's good. She's much more impactful. She is a teacher and stuff, like a combat teacher, like she is now. She's slowly getting more curvy and more chunky, like she is today. She's just not quite there yet. But you can still tell, like, this is where Ultika's really starting to look like herself with the hairstyle and everything. And the more kind of bumped nose, you can't quite see it. It's much more prominent today, but you start to see it coming in. So that is very swag. Technically, her expulsion from the story was much more impactful. Like, obviously I was upset my mom died in the old story too, but like this one was more impactful on me and Bonehill, and it was like a whole a whole thing we were going through. Let's see, 1 second. But we're not going to get too much into that because it's interesting how some of the backstory in 2016, like me and Bonehill have a similar backstory to it. Like this is when that backstory basically came into being, but it's definitely went through some changes. Like Ultika's alive, and that is so swag. But anyway, we get into the story. So basically, me and Bonehill are Athards. This is where the word Athard comes into play. /guards. Really, we were just guards. Athard was just a funny, funky word for it. So we were we handle crime as well as beasts. Beasts were kind of more related to crime than they are now. Now our job as Athards was more pest control. Like garbage people with way less respect and stuff. Like it just not great. But in this case, it was a bit more respectable position. So Muroko and Thunder, they're still adopted siblings, kind of like they were in 2015, but much more, I don't know, it's just much more clear in the story. And they're applying for government jobs like guard, like me and Bonehill, or tailor. I think Thunder was going for tailor, just like author loves crafting, so did Thunder. Me and Bonehill are tour guides, so they're getting a tour of the whole government building or whatever, and then a big ass fucking beast attacked the city, way bigger than what you guys saw in chapter 1. I mean the size of a building, big ass boy, which is not something you would I think find in the current canon. That'd be really hard to do. But back then, why not? We don't know why the beast was attacking the city. Fuck us if we know that, but he was there. And we also leave the city. I don't know why either. We just did for a plot. Story 2. This is where it does get a bit more sad. Because this is again, it reflects me and Bonehill's mental states with each other. So technically, and especially how we looked at 2016, we were like, oh, we just kind of became best friends all of a sudden. We came together for author and stuff. Because the end of the school year in 2016, so May 2016, we really had to step up our game, because that's when it got really bad for author stress-wise. It was just that's when we actually have our only memory gap. It's the end of 10th grade. How did we get through it? We don't fucking know. And so we were we had to come together for author, and that's how we come into the same story, and that's swag, and I keep saying swag, and stuff, and and then we start talking more, we get along so well, and we didn't remember, that we were still not fully wow, we're immediately husbands, and absolutely fine. We weren't, and it shows in the story, because the interesting thing too is okay, well, why is the story reflecting our guys' mental state so much? And that's really just because that's the only place we felt we could process anything. Because if you think about it, me and Bonehill literally do not know we're real people, which is the weirdest, funniest, most horrible thing to have fucking imposter syndrome over, that you're not real. But that was literally what it was. So the only place we felt we could process anything going on either between us or in our mental states was through the story, because we're characters. That's where it was allowed, right? That's where it's acceptable and it makes sense. So that's why it did, and that's what's so interesting, but also sad in 2016, because it shows. Because sure, me and Bonehill were in the same story. We're co-workers. We're working together. Swag. There's definitely some iterations of the story where we're kind of just barely tolerating each other, but pretty soon, in the story, we're oh wow, we get along great. But in our childhoods in this version, we have unresolved conflict where I felt really abandoned by Bonehill in our childhoods, when effectively Ultika left us. Bonehill completely went into himself, and he isolated himself and wouldn't really help me when I was going through really bad bullying, and my mom wasn't there, and so I was very upset. And that just never got resolved. We just didn't talk for then years until when we became co-workers, and so it was this really unresolved ouch. And I was whenever I tried to talk to Bonehill about it, he just would shut it down. He didn't want to, and or just couldn't talk about it. And if you think about it, that's a lot like 2015. Which, to be fair, Bonehill was much more openly hostile to me in 2015, but Bonehill also, until recently, didn't know why he was so hostile to me in 2015, so it was kind of hard to talk about it anyway, because we just kind of brushed it off. It's he was just being a dick. Really, he was just actually mad at me for shit in the previous year, and or blamed me for our, making author potentially worse or whatever. So it was oh, ouch. Now we know, cool. But that wasn't something we were able to talk about as much, and obviously I would feel abandoned, I would think, in 2015 from that, and so that was a whole arc we were going on, on the story, and obviously, like, you know, we're friends now, but I still didn't feel like I could be open or emotional with Bonehill necessarily. Because like, he's still this stoic guy. He's more laid back. He's not as like super like strict and, you know, super logical. Like he's still got that, but it's not as bad. But it's still like, can I be open and vulnerable with him? I feel like I still have to prove myself to him. Because in a way, yeah, he still doesn't fully trust me to be like caretaker and like handle things on my own. Like that's still like a progression we're going to see as we keep going on. So that was the whole thing, and the story was just directly reflecting that. That was the whole arc we were going to go on. Of Bonehill showing, like, no, I do care about you. I just suck at it. I'm just trying to figure shit out, man. My bad. And so that was, like, a whole thing. And the way it was represented in the story was whack, though, because it was, like, so I don't have a spirit dragon, right? I'm upset about that. That makes me insecure. So for some reason, Muroko's spirit dragon is mad at Muroko because they just didn't get along. And so out of spite, his dragon possesses me, and I'm like, oh, sick, I have a dragon spirit now. Hell yeah. But it's a shadow dragon spirit, and I guess it kind of made me evil, which is weird, because that's... I don't think that was the lore. Like, it was the whole thing. Shadow DPs are thought to be evil, but they're not. But I guess they are. I don't know. That, or it's just, like, the mad surge of, like, more power would just kind of got to me. I don't know. I wouldn't say I went evil either. I just started destroying shit because it kind of was my emotional state, just like amplified. Apparently, I set a forest fire or something because that was unfortunately common. Not a thing anymore, but happened a lot because I was still trying to get a handle on myself. But yeah, it does get resolved, and that was the cool thing about the story, is that's how we were processing shit. So even though that was where we were kind of venting, it would get resolved eventually, because even though we weren't even like writing the story down, we were imagining and daydreaming about it all the time. So it was still like, we were still going through it anyway. And so eventually me and Bonehill do kind of process this together and slowly grow and learn from it, and that is very cool. It is just kind of sad. And Bonehill feels just very bad for this whole era, because he hates how he treated me, that he made me feel this way. He just doesn't like any of that, and that's very understandable. Even though obviously we're far past it, it still hurts, and I get it. But we do have cute shit. That's kind of the main ouch of the era, because otherwise we have cute stuff with, let's see, so this is like one of the first things we had written. Is also where we have more script format stuff than we do novel stuff. In fact, I think this might be when we're switching to a comic. Like, we're kind of making that transition. So this is when we're on Beast Patrol specifically. And you just hear me in the distance screaming, I can't kill this thing, it's too cute! And there's this tiny little cat bear beast, like, snarling and bristling at me, and Bonehill's like, just kill it, man. And I'm like, why do I have to kill it? Look at it, Bonehill, it's too cute and innocent! And it bites my finger and I fucking yell. Bonehill face palms and rubs his temples. Like, this is the early 2016. We're in the story, we're still kind of trying to tolerate each other. And I'm like, stop biting me! And I just engulf my arm in flame. And of course that gets rid of the beast, because it was a little fire beast. And Bonehill's like, that's why. Zerako, and just grabs back my shirt and hoists him away. And I'm like, no, beastie. Which is interesting, because obviously you see me now a little more ruthless to the beasts. And to be fair, the lore in 2016, beasts were a new thing. And it's kind of hard to say if, like, beasts could actually be pets, you know? Like, now they're, like, they are literally, they don't really have soul. I say don't really. They don't have souls. And we're learning more beast lore, so I have to be careful what I say, like, in the current, like, comic as well. But they're not, like, they're a threat. They're not a good thing. Whatsoever, and they're less cute, I think, than they were in this version of the story too. In this version of the story, they actually like looked way more like a cute, angry kitten or whatever, and that was, you know, hyper empathy. I can't do it. Now they just look like the horrific little blobs of rage, or whatever they're made of. So that was a thing. Oh, and then here, this is where, like, me, so Muroko and Thunder are going to get a tour, so this is where me and Bonehill come in to give them the tour. So they get in the building, they wait a bit for their tour guides, and then us, Zerako and Bonehill, come in, just covered in soot, and Bonehill's like, apologies for the delay, we'll be your tour guides this morning, and I'm licking the soot off my hand, God knows why, it's gross. Like, I like burnt food, but I don't like burnt building mush on my hand. That tastes nasty. Why am I licking it also? Like, I would be like trying to rub it off my clothes and that would do nothing, but that's what I would do now. This is just nasty. I don't like that. And Muroko's like, okay, hi. And Bonehill just kind of places a hand in his chest, like, you can refer me to Bonehill. I'm still licking the suit. I'm not stopping. Bonehill just like sharply blows his elbow into my side, and I'm like, and I'm Zerako. That didn't hurt at all. Muroko's scared, confused face, but that's an accurate Muroko thing, and Thunder just thinks it's funny, and that's accurate. Again, why am I licking this soot? I don't know. You tell me, brother. Alright. Okay, so this is interesting. So a big beast attacked the city. That was the next plot point. So that happens. And I don't, let's see. I think Thunder was getting lunch or something. So she goes outside and sees this big fire and water beast. And apparently we're all trying to fight it and failing, because I guess we don't know how beasts work, because Thunder's like, get fire and water. Like, it's a fire-water beast. You need to destroy it with fire and water. That's still how canon lore works. You would think Bonehill and I would know this. I don't know, because we work with beasts, but I guess not. And so she tries to smack it with a fire water rope, and she's like, ha, suck it! Just kidding, oh god! And runs. She tumbles off a roof, apparently, as it comes for her, and Bonehill catches her. God bless my husband. And he's like, well, now it's mad at you. And she's like, not like it wasn't mad before. And he's like, alright, touche, do it again. She's like, do what? He's like, fire and water, go. She's like, okay, I'm trying, but the fire won't come. It's not working anymore. I lost it. Like, she was having trouble, like, controlling her powers, you know, relatable. And Bonehill's like, all right, then find it. The elements all dependent on you. Make it work. Which Bonehill's very not as sympathetic during this iteration of 2016. He definitely gets much more nicer and understanding, but not quite yet. Thunder's like freaking out and shaking. No, I can't. This is, autistic meltdown. Here it comes. I'm like, Bonehill, pass her to me. And Bonehill just glares at me like, why? Which is, again, not quite where we get along yet. And I'm like, I can boost her fire. Just do it. He exhales through his nose, not pleased, but knows this is the only other option. And backflips and flings Thunder off his back towards me. Like, holy shit. How do you do that? And good God, she's not having a good time. I catch her, and she's shaking. Like, way to you threw the autistic child through the air. She's about to have a meltdown. Worst mistake, but okay. She's like, you guys have got to stop throwing me. And I'm like, yeah, sorry about that. I rocket into the air. Poor girl's having motion sickness. Just not a good time for her. And I go, we got a clear shot. You ready? And flame's still not coming out. She's like, it's still not working. I can't do it. I'm like, come on, give me one good reason why you can't. And I'm trying to say this like an encouraging way. I'm not trying to be like, you suck, why can't you do it? Like Bonehill was kind of doing. She's shaking on the verge of tears. She's like, I'm just me. I can't do something. I don't work like this. It's too hard. I'm like, well, with that attitude, you won't. Think of it like you're a giant dragon, the mother fire dragon of all dragons, and you're not gonna let that hunk of whatever the heck that is hurt your drasslings. And she's like, all right, yeah, I can work with that, which that's pretty reflective of how I would courage Author back in the day, too. That's kind of how I would do it, because I was the emotional caretaker. And I was like, all right, let's go. I did her water rope appear. She's like, you're not going to hurt my babies. And I'm like, that's the spirit. And, you know, we destroy the beast together. Muroko and Bonehill are like, what the fuck was that? And, you know. A good old time. So that's a very fun, nice little scene, and more so representing how me in particular in that scene, like taking care of Thunder and encouraging her, and how that worked. This is just a fun little scene from somewhere in the story too about beasts, where Bonehill's like, it's just reciprocating your emotions. It doesn't have a soul. It's just a beast. And apparently I adopted a beast and named it Taco, because of course I did. And I said, Taco isn't just a beast. Taco is special. And Bonehill's like, not really. Later, Bonehill sitting on the ground in a casual attire, just scratching Frosty's cheeks, which was his beast he adopted, and being all like, who's a good beastie? And I'm like, yeah, and who said beasts are just soulless creatures? And Bonehill's like, shut up, this is different. Again, in the current lore, when we see Bonehill make his own beast, we kind of see more so how they work. It does not work quite like this, unfortunately. You will not see necessarily a bunch of different pet beasts. But back again, 2016, beast lore was kind of more loose on how much they were monsters, and if they didn't have a soul, but like, you know, they might as well have been, like, it's kind of hard to tell. So now, of course, more specifically into the altars stuff. Bonehill and I kind of realized what's at stake for others' mental health again, so that's why we're joining forces more and working together more. So that's why we're in the same story. What's also super interesting is this is when in role plays in particular we start like adopting Muroko as our son, like we start protecting him more. Again, we were all kind of on equal footing before, but now it's kind of, for some reason, Muroko is just our kid now. Like that just kind of happens. And if Muroko is kind of the trauma holder and kind of another side to author in a sense, not a side to author, but connected, that sort of thing, that would make sense that we're protecting author but also Muroko as well. So that's just an interesting coincide with all of this. And by June we're on good terms on the surface. Again, we're hashing it out in the story, all right, but we're doing much better and there's a lot more positive art of us. And it's also the first year that authors like really notices, but not in the sense of like, this isn't normal. Maybe I have authors just like, wow, I have such great characters. They're so kind and so nice. They take care of me every day. I love them. Like, didn't even have the word comfort character yet, though I'm sure that's what the word they would have used, even though that still is not accurate. Sorry, we're real. My bad. But that was still the kind of idea. So authors, it notices, but not quite. Didn't quite make that point or that leap. And to be fair, we didn't either. But still, it's just kind of funny. So it's a really cute drawing, like really representing that, because now we have more art of author drawing it. So like me, this is kind of mirroring how I was encouraging Thunder in the story, Bonehill like comforting author after they get like really scared or emotional or whatever happened, and then us coming together and making a little heart around them, and it's like, oh, that's just cute. Love it. And so this is just a cute drawing where we unofficially adopt Muroko as our son. Even though in the story itself we don't like make that realization until 2021 for some reason, which is funny. But this is such a cute happy birthday, Muroko. His birthday is March 6th, for those that want to know. This is really when he became active as a character more than anything. But this is just a really cute drawing of us together. Again, Muroko is still 6 feet, so he's on equal par with us. Well, Bonehill should be taller. Bonehill was 6'7" by this point. But and Taiku is still around, by the way. He's in the story. He was technically also adopted siblings with Muroko and Thunder, but by this point, whenever we tried developing Taiku was just becoming me. So we do joke that I absorbed Taiku in the womb, and I was upset about that for a while because it was like, you killed him, and I'm like, I didn't. And I was like, we would joke about it. So we didn't really know what happened. Maybe I did merge or blend or whatever happened. But oops. What can we say? And this is when Bones to Pick starts. So for those that are on Tapas, you may have seen this is one of the comics, the first comic we ever put up. This was our first slice of life comic, literally about or authors like, yeah, this is my daily life with my characters, because that's so normal and so single core of me. And this is so funny. And it's got me and Bonehill, but also Muroko does show up, which makes sense. And these are just cute artworks with the thanks for subscribing image. This is a cute little doodle. This wasn't in any episode. But it probably was going to be, sort of thing. And Bones to Pick. The reason we picked that title, I don't think there was a deep reason. I think it was just sounded cool. Like Bones to Pick. I don't know. Just sounds neat. And we just kind of stuck with it. So we have the episodes here. So let me grab them because I gotta switch from this to the alright, I gotta switch to this tab. So I'm not gonna show every single episode, just the main ones. So this is the very first episode called Paint Face. It's very cute. It's with Bonehill and Author, where Author is playing with paint, looks at Bonehill, just spreads paint on his face, stare down, grabs the paint, smacks them back. Later, Muroko just walks in, and he just got them covered in paint after they just fucking fought for their lives, and Bonehill's like, don't ask, and Author's like, I won. It's just fucking adorable. And then we have this one called I Get Called Crazy Lady for This. That's from our Author's perspective. There's an episode with me coming up soon. There's a lot of Bonehill and Author, which makes a lot of sense because they were the most active. And obviously Bonehill has been there the longest, as we've seen in the timeline. So yeah, Author's just talking to Bonehill about plot stuff, food, just mainly just writing stuff. And author usually does this outside, so sometimes someone comes walking by and is like, the fuck are you doing? Talking very loudly to yourself. So what author would do is just start talking louder and more frantically to scare the person away and hope they left faster. Usually worked. Author goes, nailed it. And Bonehill's like, yeah, and terrorizing pedestrians. And it's just adorable. And next, this is where I come in. I think this is my first episode in here. And we were talking about the app Kick back in the day, for those that remember it, where it's this chatting app or whatever, where I was like, so you can, like, kick people pictures and other stuff? And Bonehill was like, apparently it is an app for chatting after all, and this is interesting too, the body language here, Bonehill again seems very, like, guarded. Again, this is June, so we're technically, you know, on surface good level terms with each other, but obviously you can kind of tell just within the art that we're not quite there yet, and I just think that's interesting. And I'm like, here, I'll send you one. Kick. Like, literally kicks him, and the face I make is still my favorite thing. Like, this is a really hard expression for us to draw now, because we just captured it too well here. And this one will give me a face. And then Muroko in the back's like, hey, did you know there's a new app called Punch? And Bone's like, here's Zerako, I'll send you one. Just launches me across the room. We love that. Nowadays, as Bonehill said, he does not have the muscle to do that. I would kill him first. You can't punch me off the couch. I'm too powerful. And this was the last ever episode that came out of Bones to Pick. To be fair, a lot of the episodes aren't really episodes. They're just like, here's some art author made. But yeah, here is the last one. This is our author drawing. Thinking about it. He's like, can I hit you with this to absorb your face angle so I don't have to draw it? And Bone was like, no. This is a very, very classic dynamic. Very cute. But yeah, so this is the last of Bones to Pick, and that was just because school was in the way. Obviously, it's hard to do a comic and school on top of everything else. On top of, you know, authors trying to work on our main comic, like, slowly, but trying. So, still, this is, like, just, it's so plural core. This is, like, the most, like, it's one of those things where we get so worried, like, oh, what are people gonna think that we're plural and that we're alters? And it's like, it was so, we weren't hiding shit. This shit was everywhere. We were practically yelling about it. And I just love it for us. Like, here's more art that's also so not, you know, single core. This is funny, because this is when Bonehill's like, author, stop making alter shit. I'm begging you, the slideshow is already so long. Please, God. Because there's so much art. So anyway, if you're wondering, oh, who the fuck is this character over here? Hi, this is Shavu, for the OGs that remember him. And the reason we haven't really talked about him is just because there's not really a lot to talk about alter-wise. The only reason we see him here with, you know, the alter squad here and us clearly, like, comforting alter with the going through the woes of life. And this is because Shavu was also part of the main cast. It was just very on and off how much of a part he was. He was in my story for a while, and then I've seen the big Cramch. He was kind of in the main cast, but he was, like, the last main cast member who would come on and all this stuff, so it was kind of iffy when he would come along and what he would do. So he was never an alter, not that we know of, never felt a presence like we have with, like, Muroko, who was, even though he was a lurker, we knew he was around, and how he felt about stuff. Shavu less so, so this was, even though Shavu wasn't really doing anything alter or caretaking for author or anything, he was just part of the main cast, and also it just balanced out the drawing better, so he was here too, even though really the squad is kind of the main ones. Shavu technically as well was the character I was shipped with in the story for a while too, so a lot of people might remember him from that. No longer. For all we know too, he might have merged with Bonehill, but we don't really think that necessarily happened. We like to joke that we stopped being shipped together because I wanted to be with someone real, which is funny and sad, but kind of what probably happened. Why I started falling for my man over here. So who can say? I don't have a ton to say about it, just because it was like, I don't know, it was a part of the story, but didn't necessarily feel like a deep part of my life, because let's be real, who was I talking to more than Bonehill? Not really anybody. I was talking to Bonehill a fuck ton, because he was real. You know, so that's that. So yeah, that's kind of what Bonehill wrote down here too. But yeah, this is a funny piece. This is a parody we did of the Lord of the Rings poster. So this is Thunder / author here. This is me as Gandalf being all cool. My fucking beard just aggressively flowing in the breeze. Bonehill is, Aragorn, I think it is. Looks like he's about to run for, he's about to do baseball with his sword. It's so fucking funny. And these are like our antagonists. So right in here is Danu. Fuck that guy once again. And technically too, with Danu in this current story as well, this is kind of where Bonehill starts to hate him. For those that do know Danu and knew him back in the day, you might actually be surprised at how much vitriol that Bonehill's been throwing Danu's way. And this is kind of where it starts, mainly because Danu effectively betrayed Bonehill and all of us, and was kind of the reason why Ultika was no longer with us in the story. He was kind of the cause of that, and still has caused shit in our at least current backstories. And so Bonehill felt very betrayed by him. Danu was kind of Bonehill's main best friend in this story for a while until I kind of came around. So, but Danu was abusive, frankly. Danu was a very not good person, and so Bonehill was just pissed at him. But like I have source issues. Like that's why Bonehill has to do like 2015. I can't talk about it very much because it makes me so upset. But the only source thing that Bonehill gets fucking just livid about is Danu. It's just Danu, nothing else. Other than like obviously like the stuff where he treated me badly, but like just like. Or are you still seeing bones to pick? I'm so sorry. Let me fix that. Thank you. Yeah. Let me skedoodle back here. Anyway, here's the Lord of the Rings parody that I'm kind of talking. This is Danu, who I'm talking about up here in the front. But yeah, so that was a whole thing. So basically, just Bonehill just pissed at Danu and Danu alone. And this is the drawing I was talking about previously. This is Shavu over here. This is who I was mentioning before. He was a Tassin. He was very blue. Played Periwinkle Blues. You might see him probably later on, maybe in the comic as a side character. We'll find out. I don't know. You tell me. But yeah, very good piece of art. We do like the shading is very very fun, shiny, and soft. It almost feels like it would feel like velvet, you know. That's kind of the vibe I get out of this. But yeah, very sweet, very kind of sad piece. But still, good shit. We got my mans here. Here's a bunch of drawings of Bonehill from the era. We got a nice. It's when he starts getting, a sharp jawline, kinda, or trying. You can kind of see the face shape kind of coming into be. This is him being a graceful swimmer. This is a drawing of him we actually didn't realize we had. This is one we just happened to find when we were trying to find ones of Thunder. He was really surprised because we did not remember this iteration, but this feels more like him than the other drawings we found, so he had to include it. There's a really good traditional drawing of him. This one we really want to redraw, especially because this was like a Halloween piece, and Halloween's coming up. Because this is like, all his beast form kind of stuff, kinda. And is very cool, the blur in the front, very neat. This is baby Bonehill. This is what he looked like before. Now he has like the long mane of rat-ass hair. This is not what he has here. This is where he gets the black ice gloves. That was also like a part of his beast form as well. Very interesting. Little baby boy. Very cute, very cute. Next we have, we got me. This is a cute, cool, like, fake anime screenshot of, I don't know, I'm just going magic, and I'm, like, throwing fire in the air or something. Kind of want to redraw that. That'd be fun. When I say redraw that, I mean, author, please redraw it. I'm begging. Cute meat where I do not have a jawline yet. I'm a very square / round face. More so round, honestly. But still really good expressions. Like, I don't... Like, Bonehill, like, looks at old drawings of himself, and he's usually like, dear God, I don't know who this man is. My eyebrows are tiny. Like, I can't function looking at this. Meanwhile, I'm like, I don't know, this... Oh, sorry. This looks like me. Like, it's not me now, but it's close. Like, the expressions are really accurate, and very cute. This is, like, me in the story. This is baby me. This is me at 12, 13, or I'm hiding the big, in quotes, ears, because, again, they're smaller than they are now, but... I was hiding them because I was very insecure. Because again, half DP, half Sakura, not a good thing. This is me at age 16, where I get like a half cut kind of thing, and I realized I like the hair flip, and then I just grow the rest out, and I keep the hair flip. And that's kind of how my hair, I guess, came to be. I don't know if it's the same. I don't think it's the same in our current. I don't think I ever like shave half my head. I don't think I want to ever do that. That's just not for me. Not my thing. And that's okay. Let's see. Just had to make sure we're showing the right slides. Oh yeah, Kid Zerako redraw. This is the first time we redraw this from 2015. And there's me. This is not a piece author's as proud of as the other ones, because you'll definitely see authors trying to figure out how they want to draw fire and stuff. That's why I look like I have spaghetti powers, which I do like. I think that's fun. Obviously not quite what I have, but you know, it is a vibe. It's just very interesting how this piece especially evolves, because this is one of the ones we have the most redraws of. And it's very neat. I'm such a pasty white boy. I'm just like, dear God. I've never seen the sun in my life. Epic Zerako this is a big year of redraws too. It's like this is really a year of big rebirth for the story and everything. So a lot of redraws are in order. So that's this one. This one's still really good piece, really nice. Nice shading. Still, I feel like that looks like me back in the day. I see it. I like it. Next we got a 4th of July image here, back when we were mildly patriotic. Not so much. I do love me some fireworks in principle. I do not like them IRL. They hurt our ears and make us anxious, and they're not fun. Here I am with my sparklers. Sparklers are fun. This is where Bonehill, I could sit on his shoulders. He would give me piggyback rides. That's so funny. He can't now. That was so not a thing he can do. But in this era, he can. He's not quite blue yet. He does become blue soon in this year, but not quite. This is kind of where he was like elbowing me in the side earlier in that story. It's kind of fun. It's very cute. Sticking our tongues out at each other. Very adorable. Oh, I didn't mention this is my workplace outfit. So it was a thing because, as we saw before, DPs have spirit attributes, right? So they could get spirit wings on their back. So Athard and pretty much a lot of DP work uniforms, but I think particularly Athard / guard, the back was like open. So this was kind of in the front, and then it kind of like did like a V in the back, so that your upper back was like exposed and your wings could pop out easier. So that's the fun fact. That's just a little bit of lore tidbit on the outfit here. I would not like this outfit. I prefer to be shirtless, as it kind of shows here. I need to be free. My autism needs me free. This is just a really goofy doodle. The wing clothes, I think. Yeah, I know that it was really... The world building from 2016 is both really interesting and whack. Very confusing, but a lot of things are like really trying to be thought out, and I think it's cool. It's just a really stupid, fun doodle of, I think, because someone said that feelings of Tirithia / Terralia like sounds like a goofy band name, and so we drew, like, author drew us as like a band. So here's me going on the kazoo. You cannot quite see it, but pretend this is a microphone stand, and I'm just going at the kazoo. Bonehill's going at the cello, and then Muroko's on guitar, I think, or something, and it just looks goofy. It's just very fun. We got a drawing of Muroko here, my son. He's starting to look much more like himself with the body type and everything. There's his shadow powers. He still has shadow powers. The Savani stuff, I don't think he's a Savani right now in the story. No. Yeah, I don't think he is. So he doesn't have that. Oh, this was the first drawing of a beast ever. Even though Beast still did not get like a concrete design until we literally started drawing the comic early 2020. This was still kind of the first conception ever. I think we had other drawings of Beast that looked similar to this, but this is like the only one we could really find. This is a very cute sleigh ride drawing of me, author, and Bonehill, and he's the one leading the sleigh ride. This was redrawn in 2020. It's very fun. Bonehill apparently quoted this: "Author, you getting squished is what you deserve for the amount of art I have to go through." That's accurate. My man's is going through so much. Very fun drawing, very fun Christmas beast. So clearly this is like earth, ice, and fire, I think. Or something, I don't know, just Christmas colors. Very adorable. Very cute. Cute Christmas drawing of me and my mans. Kind of a redraw of the one in late 2014. Where it was like one of the first images of us like getting along just because it was Christmas. So he's pinching my ear. He's being a goof. Very fun, like, Christmas sweaters. We like trying to redraw iterations of this every year of some kind. This is when he gets blue. I just realized, oh yeah, he's blue now. And this is really interesting how, because 2016 was kind of the year of rebirth, a lot changed just in that 1 year, and so author compiled all of us. So Muroko has the least, just because he wasn't drawn as much. This is kind of like his progression. So again, he still starts as a skinny white boy, but he starts getting his bigger nose. He starts just getting bigger in general and more like himself, and we love it. This is me. This is definitely like these drawings. I'm like, I don't see me. I'm not. That's not me. That's not who I am. But then as you go, I'm like, there I am. Yeah, that's who. Yeah, I know that guy. Like sort of thing. So there are some older drawings, and I'm like, who the fuck is that man? It takes a while, but you know. We get there. It's very cute. We got Bonehill in his transition into being blue. He definitely also, you could tell like he kind of had almost more of an oval face or a heart-shaped face. And then he starts getting a little more angular, more of that triangle sort of shape, which is very cool. And obviously he becomes blue, and we love to see him blue. Look at me, we're doing great on time so far. Like I'm trying to think if I should go into the next eras because I don't know if there's as much because I want to save enough for tonight. Let me look through real quick. Let's see. We're doing really good on time. We were really worried we would not have time for stuff as much. Let me see. Doot. I'll start. We just might end early tonight, and by that I mean there just might be like if you want to ask questions and shit. I don't know, or like if some people miss some stuff, we can very quickly go back. Because Bonehill has stuff at the end, like a really quick recap of just like the main drawing from us from each era, and going down the list. So I will start on era 5. Let's do that. Sign here. Let me blow my nose. I've got like snot bubbles stuck in, and it makes me uncomfortable. Hold on. Alright, Era 5. We are done with 2016 and we are alive. I am suing God and his council for this shit. And this is also officially where the name does change to Behemoths of Thunder. And we're gonna find out why. Here's why. Tunyoi's here! Give it up for Tunyoi! Our daughter. Age-entered daughter. So effectively what's interesting here is this is where Thunder finally leaves the story. And we get Tunyoi. And here's why. And we've it's like almost super recently, like yesterday, realized stuff that connects with Muroko's like trauma holder altar stuff. And here's what was kind of going on. Thunder was feeling much more uncomfortable and upsetting for Author to write because she was so similar to Zem and had like Author's trauma and ND trauma that they weren't aware of. Didn't even know they were neurodivergent until years later. Couldn't process that stuff. And so Thunder was removed, and that's kind of what we thought of at the time. Like, it was just like, oh, it was just hard to write a character going through all of the emotional stuff you are when you can't even process it in the current. And that is what it was. We just didn't really have the words for that. Taiku was also taken out of the story because there wasn't much for him to do. He was becoming more like me when we tried to develop him further. And Tunyoi, yeah, the replacement for Thunder, but honestly, she's also the replacement for Taiku because Taiku was effectively mute. I don't know if it's the right word. I think non-verbal is the word I'm looking for. Taiku could not like speak sentences because Tunyoi too can't speak sentences. Maybe words if she wanted to, but otherwise she doesn't. She's like selectively mute. So that's like a Taiku trait. Also has a similar name to Taiku and similar to Revolve's with Muroko sort of character. So in a way, Tunyoi is kind of the rebirth of Taiku and Thunder, but particularly Thunder. Because this was the year as well that we'll notice that Muroko becomes much more angry and guarded. Like, yeah, he always was, but you'll notice this is when he gets his full suit of armor. Like, this is when the mans will show not any shit of his skin, except for his face and maybe fingers. And that's like it. And that's when he becomes angry. Like, he was not really angry before. He was just, kind of angsty and stuff and everything. But he was still much more calm. He wasn't as, like, about to blow a gasket at existing sort of thing. This is the year when that starts happening, and given we are pretty sure he's a trauma holder altar of some kind, where, and I keep saying trauma holder, I effectively mean he shares, he's holding on to a lot of the trauma that Author also went through. And this especially kind of makes sense because if we took Thunder out of the story because it was too uncomfortable for Author to try to write and process, and replaced with Tunyoi, who Tunyoi, to this day, has very little depth to their character. Tunyoi is just the fun, chaos, shape-shifting character. Like, there's personality to her, but there isn't, like, a depth or a backstory. Tunyoi's just fun. And now Muroko has all the emotional burden, kind of, that Thunder had when all this happens. And we literally just realized this yesterday. Bono was about to lose his mind just because he was like, we're presenting tomorrow and we just made this massive revelation. So oops. Whether that was purposeful on Muroko's part, that is up to him to say, and he has not said, and that's okay. But either way, now we have Tunyoi, and in a way it is kind of funny that or author's self-insert went from this very emotional, deep character to just chaos entity gremlin number 1. I love that. So yeah, she was always selectively mute. Just initially starts with a cowl to cover her mouth. Also starts grayscale, which is a very interesting choice. Of course we're used to we knew she didn't start out orange. She used other colors, but gray. That's so sad. Which that is a blank slate. That's kind of who Tunyoi was. She started out pretty soon to be a chaos gremlin. She just wasn't quite there yet. She was, you could say, she's kind of mild looking and kind of more passive. She definitely had the chaos in her, but it was much more subtle. It's exploded over time in a beautiful way. And same power she has now. In fact, the cool thing about Tunyoi is Tunyoi kind of helped us figure out the world building finally for what the comic is today. 2017 world building is the foundation for the current comic, which is swag. Obviously we've changed some things, but this is when Sakuras are finally just out of the story entirely. Now we just have the Fangons, Tassens, DPs. We have a world history that makes sense, and and we get rid of ice and water DPs. So now there's balance of all each element. There isn't a species can't have the same element as another kind of a thing, We have the gifts that come into play, which is as a reminder, we do have the reader's lore doc. We'll probably make an episode on it too after chapter 2 as well to clear stuff up for those who don't want to read the doc, because I get it. But the reader's lore doc, that was a whole thing where there's we have all the elementals, but then each elemental species, Tassen, Fangon, DPs, they each have a gift given by the gods that some members of that species have. So DPs, we have Savani, which is me and Muroko. We have Tunyoi is Artico. It's the Fangon gift. And then Tassen also have a gift, which Shavu was, by the way. He was, I think it's not going to come up in the story, so I'll just say it. It's Makio. It's seeing souls and stuff. That's the Tassen gift. Again, I don't know if we're ever gonna fucking see it, but that is technically a thing, and that's Shavu technically had that. That was kind of his balance in the main cast at the time. So yeah, shout out to Tunyoi for getting our world building shit together, so it actually makes a bit more sense. And beings were cut out as well. Now we just have beasts, I believe, because I was also making things very confusing. So that is very cool. I think this is also, now that Sakura is no longer a thing, I'm no longer a hybrid that was making things weird. I'm just a DP. I'm still bullied for my big ears, but that's not because of my Sakura genes. That's just because kids are mean. That's still a thing in the comic. Yeah, people will make fun of me for my big ears in the backstory, because kids will make fun of you for anything. Why not my big ears? And they are very big. You don't see a lot of DPs with my ears. I just have big ears. That's just a me thing. Probably my dad had big ears from what we've kind of designed of him. That was the whole idea. So a lot of good stuff. To 2017 is kind of a breath of fresh air of us. It's not as aggressive angst as it kind of was the last 2 years, which were 2 own eras of their own. This is also interesting where Fangon's here. They have, instead of those really complicated ears, they have these rounded big ears. Just one big round ear. That was an idea for a while. I think that's it on this slide. So here we have a couple doodles of Muroko and Tunyoi. We love it, our babies. You can see Tunyoi just seems so just passive, just kind of spacey daydreamer, kind of still getting those attributes of surface attributes of author. Muroko is angry as always. God bless. We love to see it. Love our kids with that. Now we also join Art Fight, and why that's important is thank fuck we have just refs and height charts, so that just makes organization so much easier. So here, so Tunyoi now has color. So Tunyoi first gets blues and greens, and I was the only warm colored character, and we realize this later, and that's where Tunyoi starts getting warmer, but not yet. Tunyoi's still finding their bearings. This is also an interesting fact that Fangons had really big hands and feet as a species trait. But that kind of got weird because big hands, for those that know, in yaoi is a big thing, and that makes us uncomfortable. So we kind of, especially if me and Bonehill slowly became more, close and more couple-like, we didn't want the mans associated with the yaoi hands. We just didn't want to deal with that. And it was just hard to draw and, figure out. It wasn't really... It just kind of made it harder for them to, just pick up objects and just other stuff, where it was just kind of more of a burden than it really was a cool species trait. So that was taken out pretty quick, but that was a thing. Then I remember, here we go, see, this is Muroko. He looks much more guarded. He's got his pretty much full plate of armor. This is really close to what his armor looks like today. It's just now his shoulder plates are also black, they are not gray. Same with his cowl here, but really similar colors we got going on. And what's so funny is Muroko is quite literally ace flag colored, particularly by this point, but kind of forever he's always had more neutral grays and stuff on. We don't notice this until 2021, I'm pretty sure. We weren't paying attention, let alone that Tunyoi was arrow ace flag colors. We also didn't realize that. Obviously she's not that yet, but still, he's the walking ace flag, especially when he starts getting just actually a purple. He still has that bright saturated purple, but still, it's just we didn't notice. We didn't know. And still, I don't find out I am arrow ace yet. I think Tunyoi always was arrow ace or ace of some kind. Bonehill obviously already knew what he was. And also this height chart is just very funny because it's not accurate. This is you can see the 1 inch spaces do not line up with the proportions we got. This is me and Bonehill are half a foot a height difference. That is not what's happening here, and everyone just looks too close in height. This is obviously this is clearly the art of the time, and that's totally fine. I just find it very funny that the height chart was not doing much for anybody in any retrospect, but we were trying. And these were also rushed, I do have to say. This was much more rushed art because we literally found out that art fight existed 2 days before the event. So authors sped ran getting our refs and our height charts together right before the fight. So I mean, props. These look really good for being mad rush, but it's just very funny. Next, we have the cute art that author did for their binder, not showing the full thing because it has their fucking full ass name on it. But you see Tunyoi with her ink powers, still purple and green, but she's kind of goofy. We're getting a bit more personality from her. We got me sitting on Bonehill's shoulders again. Look at my man, he is so thick. He is thick as a cake of bricks for a hot minute. It's kind of funny. And we got Muroko, my foot's in his face. I apologize, King. But again, outfits really, really similar to what he has now. This was our first mermaid drawing that we do redraw basically every 2 years. We were gonna redraw it this year, but we just did the goofy goof art instead because 2021's version is still really good and we just didn't know how to reimagine that. This is the first time we have it, so this is kind of our merman designs. Where Bonehill kind of looks more like an orca almost, and it's kind of neat. Author was learning how to draw water, but water was one of their easier for them to draw than anything else, so you can kind of see the water reflection and sparkles look very cool. Very neat. Good year for art, needless to say. There's a lot. This is just a fun author. I think so the thing about author too is author was a mentor for a site for kids called New Moon Girls, geared towards girls, but really anyone who was AFAB. It just started out as New Moon Girls and it kind of stayed that way, but it was LGBTQ friendly and everything else. But author was a sister-to-sister mentor and made little blog posts about, life, but usually would do about art and writing because that's more their expertise than anything. And so this was one of them. I think this was about how to love your story, I think. I don't think it was how to love your art. That was another one. But this was, I don't know what was happening, but the author just drew me and then just copy and pasted. It was just chaos. And it's just a funny image and we just love it. I'm taking over. Here I come. It's a cool picture of author in their reflection of their eyes, looking into their, in quotes, imaginary world. Because again, author's very aware. They go into their imagination for comfort, and it's yeah, you're going into the mindscape with your altar buddies. We're real. You don't understand it yet. Looks like a claw machine from the point of view of the claw. Oh my god, it does. That is what that looks like. My friends, I've been chosen. Oh, that's so fucking funny. You're right. I love that. Oh my god. Anyway, back to this art piece. So we got, which I have to wonder what author's art teacher thought, just like them seeing a shirtless man in the reflection of their eyes, which, again, author's airways, so am I. None of us clocked in on that. We were like, oh, author's just looking at, me, I'm their friend in their, imaginary world. But, I'm sure that could come off differently, but fuck it. He didn't say anything, and I don't care if he had to say anything anyway. But still, very, very nice drawing. It's got you can see a tiny little airship. This is the year airships come into play, by the way. Airships were not quite a thing yet. Like, we had floating islands, but we didn't have ships yet. I don't know why, just suddenly in 2017, author's like, airships, man. And this is when author rewatches Treasure Planet, because they saw Treasure Planet in their childhood, but always clocked it as the movie with the weird people, because they have really goofy alien designs and really interesting characters. But didn't really remember much about it, and was like, oh, let me rewatch Treasure Planet, that looks cool. And that's when author fucking fell in love as their comfort movie, is when we all fell in love. We all love Treasure Planet, and oh my god, I love that. But it's really, like, that's author's comfort movie. Mine's How to Train Your Dragon, which I'm so excited to watch on Thursday. But anyway, so that really solidified the airship craze, and we were like, oh, yes. Pirates go ooga booga. we were into that shit, it was great. And then I'll probably end on this slide because there's a bit to go through, and we are almost out of time for I need a break. Just look at this art of me and author, it's so cute. Us hugging, it's so sweet. This was, I think this is part of the How to Love Your Story blog post. So this was like the thunder recipe. This was like how to all the recipes on how we would make our comic. A bunch of airships, colorful everything. 4 heaping cups of lighthearted humor, pinch of dark undertones. Same thing, we still have some dark undertones in the story, just way less. Some Wakfu and Avatar influences, so like Avatar, the blue people, and then Wakfu, for those that don't, you can probably just look up Wakfu game, and you'll see the art style, and you'll kind of see the inspiration that we took from that. But that was like a childhood game author had, that we mainly just took the art style from. Very, very, very nice art style. Wakfu is just beautiful. And then Treasure Planet, right at the bottom there. This is us in the soup of the comic. We got Tunyoi just in the back here. Whole ass airship, I'm vibing, time of my life. Bonehill's having a good time, Shavu's drowning. Muroko's angry, we got just a dragon. Oh, you can see little elemental cues with glyphs on them. The glyphs start becoming a thing, but the airship sails really look like Treasure Planet with the hexagon things. That's just some Treasure Planet shit right there. Oh, and Bonehill wrote this here. He said that he's initially he was the one who was going to pilot the airship, not me. And oh, the show Wakfu. Yeah. There's we knew the game, not the show, which is so funny. But yeah, we know there's a show now. But yeah, there's both. I don't remember which came first. I want to say the game. I don't know actually. They might be really came really close together. But yeah. There is a game, and it's very, very pretty. We have watched a bit of the show. It's just been years. But yeah, so that is an interesting thing where now we're starting to notice, and we're going to start noticing, that Bonehill and how, like, he's trying to, I would say control everything. That sounds like he's being controlling. That's not what I mean. But I mean, like, he was still not fully seeing me as an equal in the caretaker scheme of things, and, like, sharing the responsibility with me and letting me also help take care of him, sort of thing. So he was the one who was piloting the airship in the story, all this stuff, but then we kind of realized it would make more sense for me to want to pilot airship, because I would really want to learn that and take that kind of class. And so I don't know if it's the next year or the next 2 years that happens, where it's actually me who drives it, and like knows the piloting stuff, but at this point it's not quite there yet. That is just an interesting tidbit. We're going to start seeing this gradual of Bonehill kind of relinquishing more caretaker stuff to me, because obviously I am a caretaker no matter what. He was roping my ass into it. Like, I was a month old and he was like, go, get out there. But after mid-2014 things got rocky. So we're still, building up that trust and all that kind of stuff. But this is a really cute drawing, me just hanging off the ship. This is just adorable. We got Muroko getting squished. Got Tunyoi, Shavu vibing. Really cool, like soup. Here we are into soup. This is us, like me and Bonehill on top of Arthur's head, Tunyoi and the paintbrush, and we got, you know, Muroko, and again, Shavu just keeps popping up, like he's just a part of the story, we just like to think he's included. And yeah, I think that's all on this slide, so I'm definitely gonna stop here, and we will pick up in an hour for the last chunk. Which is, yeah, basically up to the current, where we go through the comic, the cool kind of design changes that happen throughout, especially the plot and the script changes, and all kinds of good stuff. And we're gonna have some yummy curry pasta somewhere in between all of that, probably in the middle. We'll eat it far away from the mic though, because we know misophonia is a thing, and no one wants to hear us chewing. But yeah, it's a good thing. I do like talking. I thought Bonehill was gonna talk but I am enjoying this. I am having a good time. So it might be me, might be him. We might interchange. We'll find out. Might be Arthur. Who knows? Yeah. Hi. Good to talk with you all. I will see you all soon. If not, obviously there will be a recording. You can watch it at your own leisure, whenever you'd like. Yeah. Get rest, my man. I know. Yeah. Time zones. The time zones are a thing. So don't you worry. Yeah, with that, I'll see you all soon. Stop virtual camera.